Coach, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
When's the last time you spent this much time at home in the spring and summer?
Never, man, never. I actually went to the beach for a couple of days last week, which was fantastic. So
Wow.
Wow, man. How has this time been for I guess for you personally and for LSU baseball, just being in season because you guys sport is the one that I would say has been affected the most just because of the in season delays and suspensions. Um, what has this time been like for you?
it's been awesome. Spent a lot of time with the family. I have a 7-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter, and my 2-year-old daughter actually knows who I am now. She gives me hugs, which is fantastic. But it's been tough, man. You get into this to be around the players, and how abruptly our season ended just made it very difficult as on our players and us as a staff, and it just happened so quickly. I mean, we had our end of the season call, via Zoom call. So that's the first time. That's the
Wow.
first that we've ever had to do that. And then after that, the dead period for recruiting just keeps getting pushed back. So there's a lot of players out there that you're actively recruiting. You're on the phone with. You've seen video with that you've been trying to get out and see in person, and just keeps getting pushed back. So it's been tough, but I think it's starting to come to an end. Football's back to working out voluntarily at LSU. So we're looking forward to getting our guys back on campus here in August and starting the fall.
Speaking of players, you guys will be affected by the Major League Baseball draft that happens at 6 o'clock this afternoon. Real quick, I want to get your thoughts on a guy that is not going into the draft but could be a high selection, but decided to come to Baton Rouge for the next couple of seasons. We had him on the show last week, and then T-Bob was filling in for Moscone in an afternoon and talked to Coach Benary about him. How about you, who put in a lot of the legwork on the trail and getting a guy in Dylan Cruz, who last week decided to skip out on the draft tonight and get to the box?
It was a player that we had identified at a very young age. He was actually going into his freshman year of high school when we started recruiting him, and he's a potential 5-tool player. Played for Team USA, the 14U team, part of USA Baseball beyond that as well. You're getting a power bat that's not just a big pull donkey. The guy uses the whole field. So he was known as the best bat in the class for a long time, and he still is a top 5-10 player in this high school class. But kind of what happens is, you start putting Major League Baseball starts putting their profiles together on guys, and the market for high school catchers just isn't really great. The market for right corner outfielders like Dylan Cruz just really isn't great because those guys out of high school don't have a great track record of making it to the big leagues. So they have all this data and history of the draft and who's made it to the big leagues. So, that's where Dylan started slipping. It's not because he's not still a great player. It's just the profiles that Major League Baseball puts together on these guys. So we're getting a really good player, a kid that's got an opportunity to step in and hit for us right away. A Daniel Cabrera, Greg Dykman type of player that we're hoping to come in and have an immediate impact in our program.
So you mentioned catchers, high school catchers as well in there, and there's a very highly touted high school catcher that y'all are, competing with the MLB for, in Drew Romo. Any idea what you expect Romo to do following the next 2 days draft?
A lot of the times, these kids, it comes down to, hey, is this, do you want to be a first-round pick? Alex Bregman always wanted to be a first-round pick, and when he wasn't, that's when he kind of shut down the rest of the teams in the second round and beyond from drafting him. Sometimes it comes down to money, what they're looking for, because you can still get overpaid in a certain pick over the slot value. The way that they're able to move money around in the third, fourth, fifth round this year, they'll be able to overpay a guy. So Drew Romo is a guy that could really get paid. But again, you go back to those profiles of high school catchers, it's just not great. There's, as the boards have come together, there have been, 3 or 4 college catchers that have kind of been stacked on top of him. But you're getting a very elite catcher, plus throw from behind the plate, very good receiving, and you're getting a switch hitter. So a true switch hitter that's had a track record of hitting for a long time. He's also been a part of Team USA for multiple years.
Talking to Nolan Cain here on Off the Bench, 1 over 500 worthy 94.7 ESPN. So it looks like Daniel Cabrera is going to be gone after tonight, but the name that I think every LSU fan is mainly watching is going to be Cole Henry. Nolan, do you have any insight into where Cole Henry's decision-making process is at?
I know that Cole values LSU. He values where he would be if he came back next year with what that draft lines up, where he would be kind of slotted. Could he be a top 20 pick next year? Well, that's the difference in another $2 or $3 million from where he may get selected this year. Him and his family have always been brutally honest with us, all the way back to when he went through this in high school. They always put a number out, and they stand firm on that number. So we believe that he's going to stand firm by his number. And if he hears his name called and he gets what he wants, we'll be the first ones to shake his hand. And if he returns back to LSU, we're going to have a pretty good weekend rotation next year, boys.
I would say so, dude.
Good Lord, like the Yankees.
So a couple other arms though that are going to be in the mix tonight that could potentially be a part of that incredible rotation. Where do you think Devin Fontenot and AJ Labus stand? They're a bit different than Henry and Cabrera in that maybe they're not projected to be, a first or a second round pick.
Yeah, you could look at some teams maybe making some runs at them in the 4th or 5th round. The reliever profile in a typical draft for a college kid just really isn't great. You usually see 3 or 4 relievers come off the board there in the 3rd, 4th round, and then you don't see really many of them go until the 7th round, a la Todd Peterson and Zach Hess last year, right? So I think Devin stacks up very similar to Hess and Peterson. But those guys went in the 7th round. But that doesn't mean that a team may not make a run at Devin. As far as AJ Labus, everybody loves his pitch ability. It's 3 pitches in the zone, elite command. He profiles probably as like a possible 5-starter in the big leagues. But AJ is very close to graduating. He's valued, even since when he came out of high school, he's valued getting that college education. So, he's kind of expressed to us that he'd like to go into pro ball with his degree, and he's so close to having it. So we'll see what happens. And he's a great pitcher, as you guys know, and we'll have to see how the market is. I mean, this draft's going to be 75 to 80% college guys. I mean, out of 160 picks, you're estimating 128 college picks, which leaves 32 high school picks. So, and once you get past the first 25, 30 players, I mean, it all comes down to what these scouts got to see this year with the early shutdown. I mean, I've got one of the best shortstops in the country in California that he played 1 high school game this year before it got shut down. So we'll have to see what happens. I think it's going to be very, very, very nerve-wracking. I'll be lucky to have fingernails after this.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Jordan Thompson, the infielder from Helix High School, Reggie Bush's and Alex Smith's former high school.
Oh, wow.
Can you talk about these guys? I don't want to put you in a spot. Can you talk about Brody Drost from Barb?
Yeah, those guys have signed with us. Yeah,
okay, so Brody he's the best. He was tabbed the best player in the state last season. And in talking to Coach Maneri, Nolan, he seems like he is a legitimate pitcher player. Like he's a two spot guy, like legitimate.
Yeah, he's really young for his age. He could actually be a senior in high school next year. So that's what a lot of the draw with the major league teams is with him. Not just he is talented. Don't get me wrong with that, but his age. If they can get those guys into major league, getting the guys into minor league baseball earlier when they're younger, those guys have had a track record of getting to the big leagues a little bit quicker than others. But he's 6'2", 210. He can really run. He's so physical. Left. So on the mound, he's been up to 93, 94 miles per hour. Kind of pitches in that 88 to 92 range with a pretty good breaking ball. And then as an outfielder, he's a really good defender. He's a great base stealer and played for Glenn Cicchini up there at Barb High School, who you guys know has been the best high school coach in this state for a long time. So he's battle tested. He's been coached hard. He's prepared to come into this type of environment. So we're extremely excited about him as well.
Appreciate a couple of minutes here with LSU Baseball's recruiting coordinator Nolan Cain on the day of the Major League Baseball draft. Last one, we'll get you out of here, Coach. The challenges that you guys have in putting together your roster for next year, it's going to be abundantly talented. But with the number limitations that you have and with the way that this season has kind of fallen off and the ability to give guys an extra season, what are the challenges in putting together your 30-man roster next season?
Well, I think we found out yesterday that, they're listing the 35-man roster this year. We didn't get more scholarship money, but we went from being able to have 27 guys on scholarship to being able to have 32 guys on scholarship. And all of our guys have, had to be on a minimum of 25%, but this year they're allowing us to go below 25% for guys. So they have given us a little bit of flexibility there. But at the same standpoint, you don't want to have, 45, 50 guys in your program. How many at-bats can you get a guy in a fall, if you have that many players on your roster? So I think we'll have more than 35 players this year on a roster. We always have 36 or 37, but this could be a year where you see us maybe close to 40 just because, of the roster crunch that we are in. But we did get some sort of relief. We were all hoping for more scholarship money, not really to go out and sign more players or anything, just to be able to help some of the guys that may be returning that, are turning down, a little bit of money to come back to school. So, and take care of some of the guys that are currently in our program. It's been a very difficult off season, a lot of unforeseen things. So, but I think after this 5-round draft, after you get through the first couple of days of this $20,000 signing of the passed over players, we'll have a very, very good idea of what our roster is going to look like. And that'll be a big relief for Coach Neri and I.
I can't imagine how much you guys missed it because of some of these weekends over the past couple of weeks, just kind of yearning and wanting to be at the box watching college baseball. It'll be good to see you guys back in uniform and playing next season. Miss you guys over the last couple of weeks. Thanks for the time this morning.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Nolan Cain checking in from LSU Baseball this morning. Major League Baseball draft cranks up 6 o'clock this afternoon. We'll recap that for you tomorrow morning on Off the Bench.